Today we're going to talk about my buddy Lucas, who recently bought a coffee shop to make passive income. He read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. He heard Robert Kiyosaki say you need to be buying assets, and instead of buying a boat or a new car or remodeling his house, he said, I'm going to buy a coffee shop for passive income. And Lucas is a pretty normal guy. This is the first business he's ever bought, and he's owned it now for 2 months, and it's been pretty dang lucrative.
What inspired you to buy a coffee shop?
Well, I try to find $1 million idea in every single book I read. And I know this is a timeless classic, but I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and literally 4 days later, just my eyes were more open to opportunities. And I was talking to this guy, and all of a sudden I learned he's selling a coffee shop. I learned all about it, crunched the ROI, and it made perfect sense to have a real asset that's producing passive income.
I think a lot of people, when they hear about somebody buying a coffee shop or buying a business, they think that that person is like somebody who does that normally, right? So I think it's important to talk about, or important to note that, like, you're just a normal guy. You know what I mean? You've never bought in a coffee shop before. You don't go around buying businesses for a living. You know what I mean? You just read the book and you're like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna buy a coffee shop.
Yeah, and it was a coffee shop this time, but it's gonna be a multi, an apartment building the next time. It's gonna be a pool service the next time. It doesn't really matter what it is the point. It kind of came back to return on my investment, return on opportunity cost. You don't want to just find a good investment that then sucks all your time away, and you're not able to utilize your time to have the opportunity cost to make more money somewhere else. This had to make sense in a lot of different ways. And so, no, I didn't wake up that morning thinking we're going to buy a coffee shop. And it's not something that I do all the time. I think that the thing is that there's probably less than 1% of the world that views the world like with the Rich Dad Poor Dad mentality. And when you do, you just see opportunities differently. What I saw was a good opportunity, someone else might see as a sinking ship, and that they would never touch it with a 10-foot pole.
How much time a month are you spending working on this coffee shop?
Well, it's a good question. I'd say right now, with most investments, especially most passive investments, they're passive when they become passive. But in order to have a passive investment, it's got to be active in the beginning. So there is front-loaded time and energy going into this. We bought it with our brother and sister-in-law. My wife and I, or brother and sister-in-law, created an LLC, formed a company to buy it. We all handle different roles in the company. And so we're able to divide and conquer, and we work really well as a partnership. But it's not no time. I'd say a week, we're probably looking at 5 to 10 hours tops, but it's sporadic, and it's trying to use our time wisely. But it's definitely not 40 hours a week. It's not a full-time job, but it pays like a full-time job.
What would you guess in 6 months, how much time are you going to be spending at this coffee shop?
In 6 months, I hope to spend 2 hours a week. A year from now, the only time I want to spend in the coffee shop is when I'm going in there for a drink.
And is it currently profitable?
Yeah, so that's the thing, is that again, with opportunities, I think it'd be ludicrous to go find an opportunity that's not profitable. If you're going to go buy something, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I know you don't want to talk about specifically how much you're making, but are you making more than I don't know if you can answer this. Are you making more than a couple $1,000s a month?
Yeah. So, without getting into specifics, it's more than a couple $1,000s a month. I'd say it's in profit. Yeah. Good question. Oh yeah. If it was gross revenue, we're doing pretty well, but gross revenue is who cares about gross revenue? It's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. And so there's expenses with any kind of business. And for us, it makes a little bit of money. It provides different tax advantageous avenues for us. And it's fun. I mean, it is fun to do. It's not, we don't hate it. If we hated it, we wouldn't do it. And honestly, we bought it 2 months ago. It was already making money. We just found a good deal. We found an opportunity where the guy was selling it, who just couldn't really keep up with it with his own personal time. There's no shot at him at all. Just, it was what it was. And we were able to kind of seize on the opportunity, come in, be ready, which I think that's the most important part. Is Warren Buffett says, always keep a loaded gun because you never know when you're going to see an elephant. And moral of the story is these opportunities are everywhere. But the vast majority of people couldn't handle the opportunity financially if it came up and hit them in the face. And with this, we were able to, because of other, this is years in the making. We didn't just wake up one day and have money and then say, well, what should we buy? It doesn't work that way. And so this is years in the making of our primary businesses, our primary sources of income, allowing us to use our capital, not to go blow it on things we don't need, but to use it to then create more. And that's passive income. In order to have passive income, you got to have active income coming in to be able to buy the assets that produce the passive income. And that doesn't get talked about as much in all these books. It's always about all these different streams of income. How do you get them? You don't just like snap your fingers and you get them. You got to have money and you got to be able to take risk. And the more money you have, the more risk you can take. And that's the whole rich dad, poor dad mentality.
Tell us a little bit about the negotiation process for buying the coffee shop, because I know you got an incredible deal buying it that made it totally easy and worth it for you. So talk a little bit about that.
I think negotiations, whether you're good at them or horrible at them, they're always a little nerve-wracking because you don't really know what the other person's going to say, how they're going to react to things. Another book that I've just absolutely loved is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And basically he uses a couple different skill sets and practices in everyday conversations that don't really feel like you're negotiating, but generally get you the best price possible. With that said, I was able to use those skills combined with just friendly conversation, building rapport with the gentleman who was selling the business. And originally he was asking for about 30% over what I would say fair market value was of the business. And we were able to use the negotiation skills to knock it down by 60% of that price. And for us, I mean, it was a no-brainer financially.
So how big is the city you live in where this coffee shop is? Like, what's the population?
Oh, it's humongous. I think there's about 1,700 people that live here. I grew up in Southern California originally, where the smallest town was like 80,000 people. We live out in the sticks in rural Northern California.
And with 1,700 people, you're not only turning a profit, but you're making good money.
Yeah, I'd say we make more than the average household income in America on our business that requires 10 hours a week of work.
So do you think if anywhere in America, somebody could buy a coffee shop and do something like this, if you could do it in Rough and Ready or Penn Valley?
Yeah, I think maybe not coffee shop per se, because I don't know what the demographics are, but probably. I mean, most of the world drinks coffee.
A lot of people see opportunities. A lot of people have amazing ideas and they never take action. They never actually move out and do that idea or, act on it. What would you say to somebody who has like an amazing idea or amazing opportunity? They're on the fence. They don't know they don't know if they're able to do it. What would you say to someone like that?
Fail fast and fail often. Just go for it. It's don't turn a blind eye to potential errors, and they could really derail something. I wouldn't say just do it no matter what. But every risk needs to be a sort of a calculated risk. Run through, if you're having any kind of paralysis by analysis, give yourself a harsh reality check. Find someone in your life who's going to shoot you straight and who's going to just tell it how it is in a loving way, and try to poke holes at your plan. But if you genuinely like doing something and you feel pretty confident that you're good at it, the biggest error is that people just don't try. They're scared of trying. They're insecure about embarrassing themselves or having shame if it doesn't work out. And to all of that, oh man, the list goes on forever about how many hugely successful people failed so many times. If you say, who are the most successful people? They didn't get there without failing a lot. Go look up Elon Musk's biography and just watch his journey. But now you feel like he's someone that, hey, everything that guy touches turns into gold. And it's like, well, okay, but that's just because perception's reality. And that's someone's narrow-mindedness thinking everything he touches turns to gold. You might hear about the things that he touches that turn into gold, but you don't hear about the thousands of other opportunities that he's tried and hasn't worked. And the more successful someone like Elon gets, the more risk he can take. Because what's the worst that happens? He loses a couple $1 million. Big deal. He's one of the richest guys on the planet. A couple $1 million is nothing. Hundreds of millions of dollars, sadly, is nothing to that guy. And so, not saying you have to go. I'm definitely not saying money's everything, first of all. But I'm also saying being broke isn't everything either. And there's just opportunity that presents itself that I think people need to be able to take risk. I mean, you're not gonna get hurt not taking risk, but you'll see opportunities pass by, and you wouldn't want to sit here 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now with a tinge of regret that you didn't give it your all 10 years prior.